Okay.
Recording in progress.
Welcome, loves. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Venus Agoddess. I am a self mastery and relationship solutionist slash coach, and I teach all things self mastery, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially. Why? So you can not only learn to reclaim your power, you can then apply the practices and the principles that I teach, so you can one, master self, and two, master your reality, attracting all of what and who you desire. And this, for the next couple of Sundays, we're going to be moving into the dating, courting, and relationship series, which I am extremely excited about because this is fun, right? And what we're going to be learning doesn't only apply to romantic relationships. It implies to the relationship that we have with ourselves, first and foremost, and then romantic relationships, business ships, friendships, cousinships, family ships, all the ships, right? This implies to that. And so last week was our first lesson, in which we discussed the what you desire, right? The what and a little bit of the why, right? Even though we didn't get too much into the why, but definitely the what, because it is important to understand the what the prerequisites are for moving into or getting back into the dating scene, which most of us are in need of coaching and guidance and remembering certain things in that area. Because I don't know about y'all, but it's been a minute, honey, and it's definitely been a roller coaster. I'm just thoughts like experiences are flashing through my mind. Like as I say this, I'm like, baby, listen, right? So I wouldn't say what most people are saying is that there's pee in the water, especially when you're the one peeing in it, right? I'm not the person to say that. However, I do understand that there are some challenges because there's a lot of things like nobody got time for all that, right? We want to get to getting, right? We want to get to the getting to, which is why we're moving into this series. So it has everything to do with mastering yourself and mastering your reality, which is important. I want to get to sharing my screen. I'm excited. I'm excited about this lesson. How about y'all? Where's my
I am.
Now, if I learn how to work this thing, I'll be all right. Where's my share screen at? Why am I not? Oh my goodness. Why am I drawing a blank? Where is my share screen? Oh, here we go. Right in my face. All right, where's my presentation? Hold on. Let me Oh, it's not on there yet. Okay. Let me come back here. So I'm excited about this lesson. Let me know if you guys if you all can see the screen clearly from whatever device you're using.
We can see it. I said I have to blow it up.
Oh, you have to
Okay.
blow it up. What is your
Mm-hmm.
screen, horizontal or vertical? So I know sometime if you turn it, what is that? Horizontal,
Mm-hmm.
it'll show a lot clearer.
Let me try that.
It'll be bigger. If your phone is on like automatic rotation,
Okay.
if you turn it
Yeah.
to the side, it should like get like full
Expand it a little bit.
yeah, expand it to like the full screen of your device, especially on the phone.
Okay. Yes.
So I'm excited. So this lesson we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts of dating. So before we get into the lesson, what are some of the things that you can think about at the moment that are some don'ts? Let's go with the don'ts because when we know the don'ts, the do's kind of come like easily. What are some of the don'ts that's like right off the top of your head that y'all can think about in dating?
As far as for me, don't be cheap.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Also, don't be pushy. Like if I'm comfortable here, don't keep pushing, pushing, pushing. To
Mm-hmm.
have a guy that keeps asking me for pictures, and I'm like, why do you keep asking me for pictures? We're just cool right now. And
Desperate,
he's like, well,
desperate.
because
Okay, okay.
yeah, and he's like, well, dog, it seems like it's an act of Congress just to get a picture from you. And I'm like, I already told you, I don't want people to have a picture of me and then start telling people, oh yeah, this is what I did with her, this what, or this. That. No, like you're gonna have something like what they call evidence, and
Mm-hmm.
so just because you got some pictures sent to you, then they'll believe you that whatever you said, or we were dating, or we did this or whatever. And I'm like, I ain't trying to give you nothing like that.
Right.
So they think
Was
I'm
this
mean, but
like in the beginning stages of the dating, like on the first few dates, or sort of kind of after y'all had some experiences together?
all the whole time.
The whole time. Okay, okay.
Yeah, from the beginning until yesterday. Can you send me a picture? And I'm like, why do I keep having to tell you? Why am I saying no all the time? It's like, well, I don't feel like the boundaries are being respected or I'm being respected when you keep asking for something. Almost like these guys almost want you to send them some picture that's kind of, and I'm not saying he's asking for an inappropriate
Explicit.
picture. Yeah, but they
Yeah.
hoping that you will when they keep asking. It's like, dude, fuck out of here.
Right. And you are and I'm assuming y'all already at least seen each other in person at least once. Or no?
Um, sort of. This guy, went on a date with him like some years ago, and then I blocked him.
Okay,
And
so
so
y'all are familiar with each other's presence, like y'all physical, y'all been face to face on
yes,
some occasion. Okay.
yes,
I get it. I understand that. I see where that's going, and I can understand why you fit why you would say that. The pushiness, the desperate, the disparity is unattractive. That's something that I mentioned
very.
in one of the lies that I taught. Like it's such a turn off to be and act desperate for anything,
Mhm.
right? Just to
Right.
when you just like one track minded and you have like tunnel vision on I want what I want and that's it, and you're not taking your partner into consideration. That says a lot. That quickly, that's a swipe left for me. Immediate swipe left. Like,
Mhm.
okay, it was nice. However, you continuing to do these things, and like I said to this one guy, like when we speak about red flags, we have to sometimes we have to take a deeper go deeper with our perspective, right? Because more than likely, that red flag didn't become a red flag until it happened several times. For some people, it's more than is one time too many, right? But in most cases, when you already have empathy and you have, consideration and things like that, it's more than a few times that this person done did something. It's like, okay, like now it's you sticking out like a sore thumb. This perspective, this characteristic, this pattern of yours is sticking out. So it's not something that just dropped in mid drift. It's not like that, right? Um,
Mm-mm.
I mean, but for most cases, I'm like, hey, flag on the play, flag on the play. Let's run
Right.
that back real quick.
And honestly, I have, and I ended up when he pressured me, I sent him maybe a few pictures over this time since we've been, reconnected over the 6 months,
Okay,
and then he'll still ask for more pictures, and I'm like, you already got pictures when I didn't even want to send those.
right.
It's like, what is wrong with him? He
Give
says,
them
I
an
just want
inch
to
and they
see.
take a mile.
Right. And he says, I just want to see what you look like. I said, you already know what I look like. And I said, Google me, bitch.
You said that last part.
I just said Google me. And he Googled me and he saw my pictures. A bunch of them.
That's
So
all
I'm
it
like,
takes.
dude,
Social media, like there's thousands of them. Like take your
right.
pick. There's thousands of them. I mean, I can't literally stop you from taking a screenshot. However, there's thousands of them. Go have a peek. What about you, Jess? Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. What about you, Jess?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of my pet peeves also, like when guys will, especially like, when you're like getting to know somebody and they don't know and they haven't met you, it's one thing, but like, I don't know, that's also to me like why I put pictures in my dating profile. And I know some people like their pictures are not up to date, which I think is like tricky, and it's a catch-22 because like they want to see that it's really you, but to me at that point, like if I'm interested enough that I'm gonna send you a picture, I'll say, hey, let's FaceTime or whatever. Let's have a conversation, because then I can see you are who you are too, and see how kind of like that conversation goes. Because I'm not quick to like go out on a date with somebody after talking to them like one or two times. I want to see if there's like a little bit of good conversation there too. So like, let's take it to the phone, whatever.
I like that. Let's catch a vibe. That's
Yeah.
that's huge. That's huge. And that's also something that's important, right? Because and do y'all see how, not that our past experiences are irrelevant, because they are very relevant, right? And prevalent. However, y'all can see how for some people that are not aware of it, you can kind of like um bring your past into your now, which dictates your future to mimic the past. Y'all can see, can y'all see how that can happen?
Yeah.
Right. And so just like you said, just like, come on, like when maturity kicks in and wisdom kicks in, it's like, okay, I know those things happen and I know you're supposed to be cautious of it. However, when wisdom kicks in, it's like, okay, like let's catch a vibe, we can have a conversation, because your pictures, whether I tell you that my pictures are recent or not, there's still a chance that they can be long ago. You understand what I'm saying? So whether you answer the question 5, 10, 11 times before we actually get to like physically see one another on a date, once we get to that point, you still are not going to know 100%. You're still not going to be 100%. Those are just like the facts. So why even persist in that, right? And this is the difference in dealing with someone that's aware and has wisdom, right? To be able to think like that, and not only think like that, apply those thoughts and make that real time practices. So I could thank you for sharing that, Jess. So let's get into it. So this lesson, let me go back for a second. So this lesson is all about, and this is part two, the do's and don'ts of dating, right? And so there are actually 11 steps, and we're gonna get through. We're gonna segment it. So let's see if we can get through the first five, because I know spirit be going, and we kind of like the conversation kind of like flows, and the lesson flows wherever it should flow. So figuring out what you want, right? And this is the reason why this is extremely important, and why we discuss this as one of the top prerequisites before you even get out there in the dating world, before you make that commitment, before you initiate that process, right, in your journey. Most of us are aware that dating can be completely complicated in this world, right? And we see this every day. We're extremely familiar with it, which is why some of us have been, on in the absence in a dating scene for years on end. I'm one of those persons, right? And longer than I I was convincing myself that I actually needed to wait, right? Because if I was transparent, being transparently honest, I also used a lot of justifications, rhymes, reasons, and excuses why I wasn't dating, right? All because I wasn't reminded of the what I wanted, the why I wanted it, right? The overall goal, the overall picture, which we often need to be reminded. And there's a lesson, that's not really a lesson, to exercise that I'm going to ask you all to do further on into these lessons. So, and for many of us, we are out of practice. We're out of practice, and some of those reasons are because we're unhealed, we're trauma bound, we're discouraged, or for many of us, we're hopeless, right? With outdated information to guide us in the direction of our choice, right? How many of us used to y'all? How many of us are familiar with what they call that app, MySpace? Y'all, well, it was MySpace, right? Y'all familiar with that outdated old app?
Yep.
And look at technology today. How many of us are walking around with pagers, beepers, like we used to back in the day, right? And so as we evolve, as technology evolve, practices, knowings, thoughts, information, education, as those things also evolve, if we're not evolving with it, right, that is going to lead us to continually operate in outdated with outdated information and practices, and the evidence of that is simply not working, and we can see that, right? So the information is outdated, and it's not guiding us in a direction of the choices that we actually want to make, right? What we actually want, need, and or desire. So figuring out exactly what we want, what we need, and or desire by doing an in-depth assessment is the prerequisite for your dating journey, as we discussed a little bit more in the first lesson last Sunday. So today's lesson, we're going to be covering the do's and don'ts of dating. Keep in mind that sometimes these practices that are most crucial for us to apply and follow through might be the ones that are least fun for us in the beginning, right? Because any type of change, remember when I discussed that when you are reprogramming your mental database, because our actions are predicated and dictated by our dominant mental database, and whenever you're introducing something new to the body is automatically going to reject it because it's not familiar to it. So which is a great thing, because that's how we're wired. That's our defense mechanism, and it's automatically going to kick in. It's not going to ask you the question as to, hey, are you sure you want this? Right? Are you positive? Is this going to help you in any way? Is it going to be beneficial? It does not ask you. It does not care about any of those things. Your mental database only cares and only operates within its parameters of the program, right? And so understand that anything you're applying that's new is going to be uncomfortable to certain degrees. Also, keep in mind that with these 11 steps that I'm going to be sharing with you, these 11 don'ts I'm going to be sharing with you in this series, this dating series, always know that there are always exceptions, and you are supposed to put your stamp on it, make it your own, right? There's some things that you're going to add to, there's some things that you may take away according to how it's tailored made for you. So keep that in mind as we discuss these lessons, right? So steps, not really lessons, steps. So these 11 steps was created to help you navigate your journey to connecting with your life partner, which some would call our soulmate, our life partner. I would like to say our life partner, right? In all things, right? And so the number one step that I recommend, and I even had to be reminded of this, right? Because of all the things that I've learned, and because I actually know what I want, and I've never really been used to what some would call serial dating or multiple dating, right? It took me some time to learn that it is absolutely healthy. So step one is date more than one person at a time. I'm not saying go crazy. I'm not saying overwhelm yourself. I'm not saying just have like 11 people like serial date. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that date two or more people at a time according to your max, right? According to your capabilities, your emotional abilities and status, exactly where you are mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, energetically, right? Because each of us are different. Some can tolerate more than others. Some are a little bit further in many of these areas more than others. So this is what I mean by there's always exceptions to the rule, and take what you may. However, I do encourage you to apply these practices, and you're going to have I'm going to give you a deeper perspective as to why I suggest these things, right? And not only I suggest these things, many dating coaches who I actually like, who I actually respect, and I don't even like statistics, but a lot of the information that is out there, this actually coincides with. So I absolutely said, yes, date multiple men at the same time. The perspective: before you enter an agreed upon monogamous partnership or relationship, save yourself from unnecessary heartache. I was there. I did it the opposite way for many years, and it always turned out the same way, even though I didn't have the mindset. that it wasn't going to turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, right? I didn't have that mindset because in most cases, if you do the opposite of this, you'll meet someone, you'll like them, things will escalate, and before you know it, you're emotionally invested with them. The follow through on your vetting process was cut short due to you not allowing him to follow through on his words, on his gestures, via the experiences created, right? So now you're crushed. Now you're broken. Now you're bruised. Now you are deeper in that hole than you expected to be. Now, the hole is not an example of a place where you don't want to be, right? It's just a place, right? It just means that the more you invest, the deeper you go. That's all that simply mean, right? And so I want to put that narrative out there. You've done most of the investing before the vetting. And that is something I get a lot of us caught up, right? This is where emotional discipline comes in place. A part of the prerequisites to dating, as I mentioned previously, is practicing awareness, discipline, and standing firm on your standards. Which is why I encourage you all to write a list of everything that you want, right? And next is going to be beside to actually write down your standards, your negotiables and non-negotiables. And I know we discussed the negotiables and non-negotiables at certain points. So everything that we've learned thus far, you're going to put it together, right? And this is going to be your guide in your for your dating journey, right? So does this make sense?
Yep. So far, so good.
Yes.
Is making sense. Have you both experienced, especially this part where we got kind of emotionally carried away, right? Because everything is energy, everything is emotions, right? We're just gonna step away from the narrative that we're not supposed to experience all emotions that a being can actually experience. They are all healthy and beneficial in some way, right? However, when we're not applying logic with it, how many of you, and I was just, I'll be transparently honest because as you all know, I am on a dating journey again. And so, you all are familiar. Do y'all remember me saying that I am dating this guy and he kind of checks all the boxes like thus far.
Mm-hmm.
However, he has little people.
Yep.
So what I'm noticing, and remember, I'm saying I'm sharing this with you because it's okay if some of your negotiables and non-negotiable changes. I want to remind you of that because I mentioned this last week. It's okay that some of them change. It's okay that you remember why you chose not to do something in the first place, right? Or as a reminder as to why that non-negotiable should remain a non-negotiable and not transfer to the negotiable side, right? And so what I'm realizing, because I'm going to share this journey with you transparently, openly, so I can be more relative. My journey can be more relative to just bring us together in a sense, right? What I'm realizing is that because he have little people, he doesn't know at the moment how to prioritize him putting his self first, right? Because everything is centered around his children. And I'm not saying that that's a concept or that's a something that he shouldn't be doing. However, when you take it deeper, right, and you understand that no matter if you have children, you have a husband, you have a wife, no matter if you have a spouse, no matter if you're in a committed career at a job, no matter who you have in your life, setting you aside will never be equivalent to living a self-full life, right? And I mentioned in a live, I think it was a few days ago, that I speak a lot about triune essence. Being selfish, being selfless, and being selfful are all three requirements. All three requirements. And I know there's a lot of misguided information saying that, well, we should be dominantly selfish. We should be dominantly selfless, right? Having just being unconditional. That your unconditional love shouldn't come with conditions, which is completely oxymoronish, right? When you think about it. But when we think about the yin and yang, positive, negative, up, down, right, wrong, you it's impossible to separate one from the other, right? Because that's not how anything is created. You need both polarities and dualities of things. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm realizing that he doesn't, because he doesn't understand and not only understand in practice of applying, right, those boundaries, because he has it seems like I've been coaching him, right, in a sense more so than I should have been experiencing him. However, because I realized early on that he checked all of these boxes, I connected deeper to him than I should have. Our first few dates, absolutely amazing. Conversation, absolutely amazing. His consistency, absolutely amazing. In that moment, in those moments thus far. However, I kind of set aside the vetting process to the extent that it should have gone. And so even though I'm not that far gone with him, I still realize with this experience and me applying my own teachings and my own principles that I kind of I realized something that I shouldn't have done and I should have done to a degree, because how would you know if you didn't do it? And so this helps me put things in perspective and critique the list that I have, especially in the vetting process, right? I completely, because of who we are, like, I just like, this is great. Because I had the mindset at the time that, you know what, I'm just not into multiple dating because I know what I want. I'm extremely aware, intelligent, and wise, and all of these different things. And this is absolutely what it is. However, I didn't give him enough time to create these experiences that would have continually showed me up to this point that he's able to follow through on those things to the capacity that we're planning ahead. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So I had to look at that because I was like, okay, I'm speaking to several guys, but then because he checked these boxes, I'm like, okay, forget them and I'm going to focus on you. Not the best choice that I made, but the best choice, because I'm gonna say this again. Those who are in this area of coaching, leading, guiding, and to the extent that we are in it, called to do it, right? We will always experience firsthand what it is that we're teaching. And so I understand that. So I welcome and embrace the process. And that also helps me navigate, right? Without getting myself deeply distraught because things are not just lining up. And that's a huge turnoff for me. So he's on his way to that swipe left. He's not completely counted out. However, I as of right now, he's kind of like on his way to the left, right? And so I decided to just like open a door that I should have left open and entertaining more than just him. So I understand that. So do y'all have a deeper perspective with that example that I gave as to why it's healthier and more beneficial for you to actually date more than one man at a time?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I feel like I've always gone the other route where, like, because I consider myself, and I got married at a young age too, and was like dated that man for years and years and years. So I always really was like a date one person at a time, but like I can see exactly what you're saying, that then like it forces you to like put all this attention into one person, really kind of in almost like a dangerous or not unhealthy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know
It can get-
exactly.
It can get there.
Michelle?
Nice. Well, for some reason, I don't know why I can barely hear y'all now.
Really?
Let me see. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Do you want you? Did you get a call?
I did.
Right. Go out and come back in, and I'll wait to move forward with the lesson. We'll wait for
Okay.
you because that happens to me. I've had that happen plenty of times, and I'm like, damn, I can't hear, and I have the phone all the way in my ear just to hear, and then I'm unable to see at the same time. So I get it. Okay.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. The volume is good now?
Yep.
Yeah, good. When you get it, I oftentimes I have to put my phone on silent when that happens.
In my head, I just see this not being played off so gracefully by me, so I'm kind of giggling about it.
Me too, Jeff.
But that's okay. No, so keep going, because I'm sure, like, I think as stuff like, falls into place, it would be different. But just like thinking about it now, I'm like, okay.
Okay, so I want to give y'all a quick visualization, right? Because we're only going through five of the steps, so we have enough time, right? So let me know if you can visualize this. Answer this question: have you ever like foreplay with a man? Y'all kissing, y'all kind of touching, y'all just close to each other. Y'all ever foreplay with a man before you've had sex with him?
Of course.
Okay, so in my cases, most times it was when I chose to do this, it was after the dinner, right? That said dinner, that second, third, fourth, right, dinner that we had. And so while we're in the process of, those intimate kisses, if we proceed and engage with that further, right? If we're exchanging tongue, right? There's naturally going to be like a grab to the neck. There's naturally going to be like a grab to the face. And I want y'all to imagine this, a grab to the face. There's naturally going to be maybe like a grab to the shoulder, a grab to the back. For me, it's just a thing. So let me see if y'all can't see this. It's not high enough. So imagine that this I'm the man, right? So for me, I'm gonna try to do this in a reverse. For me, it's if I'm really into it, like that moment, I am always going to touch like the side of his face. Careful not to put my hands on his total face because I'm a germaphobe and I move like that, right? I carefully like do this while we engaging, right? And my hands is going to initially find its way to his shoulders. One of my hands is going to find my way to his backside while the other hand remains in the front. And I am consciously going to just push myself against him just a little bit. Why? Because my intention is to evoke that chemical in his brain, that dopamine in his brain, because I need his body to respond. That's my intention. And so when I do that slightly, not too much, not too forceful, it's just slightly, right? I then, while I'm doing that, once I pull back just a little bit, consider this rhythm. You moving up and down, forward and backward. And when I take that backward, my hand kind of trickles down his chest, and then I turn my hand. So originally it's trickling down his chest, and then midway, I flip my hand this way, and I just graze his area. By that time, his phallus should have responded. And if it didn't, there's a couple of things that can happen. That did happen. I'm not going to go into that. However, most cases, his penis is going to respond. His phallus is going to respond. And you can sort of get, if you're used to it, right? If you've practiced this enough, you can sort of get a good gauge of what it can be, what it is. Y'all understand the visual now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think in my head, I was assuming that this was like
a grab.
No, No, I mean like just date wise, like much earlier in the game than like you guys sitting like hanging out that intimately. And I think that's where my brain was. I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah, once you get to that point,
Right,
once you
gotcha.
get to that point, for me, because I already know like what I want, once I get to a certain point and once he have showed me certain things, right? The mental, right? That comes first. The spiritual. Once we are on the same page in the book and I understand that, especially mentally, as far as our awareness, as far as our compatibility, all the potential that'll come, right? But foundationally, if I sense and where I'm now, remember, I'm just tapped into my energy and my intuition and my discernment, right? And I not only listen to what he say, I listen if his energy is matching and lining up. If I decide that I've discovered all of those things and I have the information that I need in that moment, I'm then going to move to that point. That's what I mean. So whether it happened the second date, the third date, sometimes it happened in the first date, which again, that wasn't successful. But after I have gathered enough information that I need to want to move forward in that way, because remember, I'm dating with intention. I'm dating with the purpose, and I've already expressed this that I am in wait to connect with my life partner for however many seasons that is to be. But that's my intention and that's my goal. So, in order for me to move on, I need to know enough information as far as your sexual compatibility, what that phallus can do, right? I need to know to some degree that hey, that you got potential. You understand what I'm saying? That's something that I can perhaps like work with a little bit. I've been successful in my swipe test. I've been successful. I don't know about, other women. I speak from my experiences. I've been successful because that's information that I need because I'm not going to continue to invest and feed my energy to him. And while he's feeding me his energy, right, investing in me, if I know or realize that there's absolutely no way I can spend my life with this man. I've been pretty successful in that. That's what I'm saying. So I hope
How
that
do you
helps.
cut it off then? How do you cut it off, and what do you do after that?
If I figure out that there's just not enough potential for me physically in that area, that's what you asking?
Because I know you just don't say you got a shouty down there.
No. I told one guy that in the past. I was younger, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know what you've been bragging about, and blah 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 blah. I actually called my friend and was like, dot, 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 like while he was still in bed. That was dangerous, but I've always been kind of bold like that. I was much younger. I was much younger. But now I just kind of express to them that you know what, I always encourage them, I always inspire them, and I always compliment them. Why? Because I genuinely love people, no matter if we work out or not. Because of that, my words will go something like this. I think you are really an amazing man, right? You have et cetera qualities. You're a good father, you're a good dad. Dot 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 dot. Ultimately, I don't sense that we are complementing and compatible enough in certain areas for me to move forward with you, like long term. I hope that you understand that. In most cases, he'll respect that and he'll move on. I'm not into what do they call that? Small talk. I don't like that. I'm not into that. I'm just not into just exhausting my precious and invaluable energy. So I would say something like that as my exit. And then I'll move on. That's not something that I would tell them. Now I have in the past expressed to a man that first I ask in certain ways like, do you think first I ask permission to speak about something that's so intimate. And I've done this, right? With a guy. I remember I was intimate with a guy and he was doable, livable, as I would say in my terms. Like, he had potential. He wasn't the biggest that I've experienced that I may have probably wanted. However, he was suitable for a future partner, right? However, in our experience, I not only did I know that we have to communicate and share with each other what we actually like. I felt in the moments that we shared, and it was like two moments, I think, two sexual experiences that we had. I noticed that he wasn't completely mentally there with me. And I expressed that. He just happened to be mature enough to handle the conversation after giving me the go ahead to actually have that conversation with him. However, I'm also aware to be gentle in that area, because that speaking about those things like that, if we're not careful, that can really crush a man. Just like the same approach can crush a woman in that area. You understand? And so I'm careful of that. And so I've had experience where I actually coached men in that area. Not that I wanted to move on with them. However, I wanted them to actually be successful moving forward. So I've educated them in certain ways. One experience that I didn't even have sex with this man, but I seen a DP. I seen a DPIC, right? I seen a DP, right? And after conversations, he expressed to me that he was impotent, right? And so even though we didn't go far, he was a nice guy. We met up like more than a few times. I knew that he wasn't my person, not because of the sexual things that he told me, because I know that can be fixed too. I suggested herbs and different things like that to him, different things that he can do, like meditation, herbs, supplements. You know what I'm saying? I've done that in the past, but my exit is always honest, is genuine, it's soft, it's respectable. And of course, I practice that as well. Does that help, Michelle?
It does.
Yes, but there's definitely an exit,
you.
honey. Because I ain't about to play with you, because you ain't about to play with me. I know me. When you know who you are, especially in the moments, whether without focusing to going too much deep into your head, this is what it is. This is where I am. And you either gonna compliment that or not. It is what it is. I embrace that about me. And when I get to the next level, I'm gonna embrace that about me, whatever that be. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It really helps. So moving on to step 3. I often say that transparent honesty, which is something we just discussed, is the absolute policy to avoid unnecessary mental, emotional, and financial discomfort. Why is this important? Because there's nothing to be gained by hiding the facts of what you ultimately want, what you are ultimately wanting, needing, or desiring, even if it's not within the trajectory of the season that you're in. Remember, the only way to be sure of your elevation is by embracing the experiences that's going to allow you to apply what you've learned thus far. I would not know the difference in whether I evolved or devolved if I didn't apply, if I wasn't willing to apply what I'm teaching you. I wouldn't know the difference whether I'm progressing or digressing, right? If I never embrace me knowing that I'm going to be uncomfortable and actually being uncomfortable with these new practices. It just got easier for me. At first, it was extremely uncomfortable. It's not that uncomfortable anymore, even though it is uncomfortable at times, but it's not that uncomfortable for me. Just because something may seem to be at that moment or in that season impossible to bear doesn't mean that it's not possible to bear, right? Using these practices is going to allow you to avoid premature emotional attachments, as we went into little depth in step 2. And if any concerns should pop in your mind, cancel them right away. Pop that metaphor rubber band, right, on your wrist. Disrupt that pattern. Cancel it out your head. Because if you express all of what you want, need, and or desire, or all three, with a divine wise approach, and he responds in any other way besides being accepting of that, then he's definitely not the one for you. Enjoy the rest of your date. Enjoy the rest of your meal. Enjoy the experience, right? In fullness. But then throw that whole man away. Not literally, but mentally, like, that's it. Throw the whole man away because it's not going to work. You are either going to be willing to accept who I am in this present moment, in the moments to come. Not saying that this is going to be the it all be all, right? With the awareness that, hey, either this relationship, or me or you personally, individually, is going to evolve or devolve. Hoping, right? Having the intentions and healthy expectations that, yeah, we're pushing to evolve and elevate. If that man isn't aware of that and doesn't express that emotionally to you, verbally that's not the man for you. Immediately disengage and thinking that that man is a potential. Because a lot of times we get into unnecessary situations that's causing us mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, and financial discomfort, all because we ignored his gesture and his response. You will absolutely know if that man is not being accepting of you or not. In many ways, you will absolutely know. We play with ourselves all the time. And the effects of that is not healthy or beneficial to us. We ignore things that we should not ignore, all because we want what we want. And that's not an unhealthy, unrighteous thing to want what you want. However, when you want what you want and accept any of your non-negotiables, then you put yourself at risk and make yourself susceptible to all the hurt and pain that you're going to experience. So then when it comes down to bitching, moaning, and complaining about it, there's no compassion, there's no sympathy. There's empathy, yes. Like, we have to really come to the conclusion that, you know what? I'm going to be responsible and accountable for my choices. If I do this, this is what's going to happen. If I don't do that, this is what's going to happen. Whether you do or don't, the laws of cause and effect can't be reversed, denied, or disputed. Something is always going to happen. Not making a choice is making a choice. Not doing something is also doing something. You're just doing nothing. So we got to get real deep with ourselves, being honest. And we know what we know. Just like I said, that intuition and that discernment is built in us. The more you tap into it, the more it increases and amplifies, the more it becomes powerful. So there is no rhyme, reason, justifications, or excuses we can really tell ourselves to comfort us to a degree that we are not going to end up being in denial. But the effects of that is one of the reasons why most of us are single now. Not the ultimate reason, because I know everybody's situation is different. Everybody's reasoning is different. I understand that. However, it's undeniable that a lot of women and men alike, but we're speaking to us, are in the situation of singlehood, being singleness, being single, right? Not with a person of interest and love, not being with your partner, not elevating. 4 feet will always get to the destination a lot quicker than 2. And when you carry this perspective, it starts making sense to you. So step 3 is be upfront with what you want. Stand firm in that. Of course, articulate that with your feminine essence, right? The articulation, how you articulate this, it absolutely matters. But not articulating that is only going to lead to your demise in many ways. Be upfront, transparently honest, like this is what I want. And be okay with what you want in that season. And be okay that the next season, that want may be tweaked a little bit, but the core of it should remain the same. But you may decide to wear a different shirt, different lingerie with it. That's acceptable. That's called elevating. That's what's supposed to happen. Y'all understand? Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, let's discuss this one. This is a big one. Avoid talking about your expat. Living in the past will keep you reliving the past and what you suppose and what you're in the past in your what's supposed to be beautiful future. Let me say that again. Living in the past will keep you reliving the past in your what's supposed to be beautiful future. Why is this? Because not only talking about your expat suggests, but it also implies that you're not healed enough to move on, to enter a new relationship, right? And you're somewhat still trauma bound. So what do I mean by expat? I'm a lover of acronyms, right? Creating words and putting my own little spin on things, right? So what do I mean by expat? Expat, talking about your ex, talking about your past examples of your traumas. Never a healthy, beneficial thing to do.